never know how far we'll go. Press the pedal, take control. Take control.
The Circuit de Barcelona Catalunya is the newest kid on the block here in Le Mans Ultimate. The only question being tonight, how will our incredible crop of drivers take on the newest one in town? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Racing Club International and welcome back to Multi-Sprint Series Round 4, of course at the Circuit de Barcelona Catalunya, better known as just Barcelona, Barca, whatever you want to call it. A lot of people like it, a lot of people don't, but it's going to be an absolutely fantastic event. Of course, our 20 minutes of qualifying, which is looking a little bit more like 10, followed by our 80-minute race, an hour and 20 minutes for our drivers to truly test what they can and what they can't do. My name is Jack Mays. Joining me, as has become customary, and as has everyone has appreciated, because he's an overall wonderful human being, Jesse Lee is in the box with me tonight, and an even slightly more wonderful human being, just a little bit, is Ted Edwards, the man on the cams, our broadcast director, telling us to do, telling us what not to say, and overall keeping us in check. Jesse Lee, GT3 qualifying is coming to the very end. It's pretty much at the end at this point. A couple more drivers still going around trying to improve at the very end. I'm excited today. I'm sure you're excited today. Take us through what the GT3s are looking like at this moment.
As in Pamber, of course, over Joe Dauber in qualifying, as all these cars, the majority of them are in the pit lane already. Of course, hypercars have already been released out to do their qualifying, but it is the Lexus of As in Pamber, a 41.390. Joe Dauber in the Corvette P2. Rule joining us in a second Lexus will take third. Emo Plata in fourth. Martin Lawrence is still out there on the lap, and so is Townsend in a third Lexus. As they're going to come across the line, they were quick in Sector 1, but lost it in Sector 2 and Sector 3 as well. Thus ends GT qualifying. Moving on to the hypercars with As in Pamber on pole in the Lexus. Jack Mays, it's a brand new day in LMU, and it's a brand new race car for some of the Toyotas. The front end completely redesigned, tweaks all around. It's the brand new 2026 update. The newest cars at the newest track in LMU.
Absolutely. It's been the talk of the town as the release for the 2026 season update was yesterday. So very new, very fresh, very impressed with Dion Smits running the new car as well with the appropriate livery that was clearly mocked up last night. I know how that feels. It's a beautiful, beautiful car. I think it's just really improved the look of the, well, formerly the GR010, now renamed the TR010 for Toyota Racing. And the profile of that car, unbelievable. I will say, for anybody who's curious, the car is the exact same in terms of handling and performance characteristics, rather than Studio 397 having to balance two cars that are virtually the same. They're just going to balance one. I think it makes perfect sense, and that is the case for all of the Evo hypercars and the Evo GT3s. But the pretty, so who cares? You can get away with a lot if you're good looking, and that is a fact. But the hypercars are out. We're expecting certain drivers to be quicker than others, but Barcelona, it being a new circuit, not everybody knows their way around perfectly yet, so I expect great things. I expect big upsets, and the one thing I didn't expect to say at the moment, Jesse, is a little bit of traffic. Dion Smith's already backing off, finding space. Everybody, almost similar to last week in the rain, everybody's tripping over each other in the opening of qualifying.
Yeah, we've seen this time and time before where the drivers just sort of get in each other's way just a little bit, and they all sort of check up in the third sector trying to find their position. But I don't know. It's a little late for that. I would rather get that done by the end of pit lane and space yourself out well and truly. But Jack, I got to say, it's the newest track in LMU. It is a brand new car, literally released a day ago. Some drivers are having a go in the new car. They're hoping it's better. We don't know. We don't have any data, and neither do they as drivers. They are driving into the unknown here today.
Yeah, and the latest rush of BOP, if you haven't taken a look at the PDF, if you're not that kind of nerd, don't worry, I've looked at it for you. A lot of cars getting kneecapped, as it were said.
This
the
one,
Genesis, pretty much every single circuit on the calendar that is within LMU, it has been given an extra bit of weight in order to slow it down. The Genesis is, well, it's the newest car. Of course, everybody expected it to be quick. I don't know if everybody expected it to be as quick as it was. The Peugeot 9X8 Evo as well got quite a bit of weight added in quite a bit of places. So is that going to change up the order just a little bit? I don't know. It seems that Martin Vaselli, sporting a new livery on their Genesis, had a bit of a bother in turn 10, and it's just a little bit of a lock in the rears, and fortunately got it slowed down in a way where he didn't really lock up the tires too much. Ted, of course, already sporting the new fancy rewind and slow motion features.
Look at this
as if
guy.
he's done it before. Absolutely beautiful stuff with our wonderful, wonderful broadcast tools. That's just, gorgeous. Look at that.
You know, I asked you guys less than a week ago, actually this week, about that Genesis and about that locking problem and if it was just me, but I think that answered my question. I think this car has a really quick wheel locking issue, and it still has that. And it's very strange. What happened to Vaselli is exactly what happened to me in my racing in LMU this week. So I'm glad I'm not the only one. I'm glad that it happens to the quick drivers as well. But it's strange. I hadn't had that problem in LMU with any other car, but I do have it with the Genesis, where it just absolutely goes around at the drop of a hat. Smits is quickest in the midway point of quali, a 30.160, 4/10 up from Trischiani in the Peugeot. Third place, Zito Vandrisha in the BMW, who is only marginally behind from a spot on the front row. Another 4/10 or so behind to Gaikomi in the Genesis. Badowski in the other Peugeot rounds out your top five. Vandrisha quickly goes to P2, but is knocked back down to third. Trischiani goes quickest in the Peugeot, a 29.791.
That's an unbelievable. That's a driver we haven't really seen. We haven't really spoke about being this quick. They found themselves really comfortable here in Spain. Eduardo Di Giacomi, that last lap was setting purple sector, seems to have either backed out of it or invalidated their lap, most likely. Mohamed Colombo, last week's winner, going to the top of the sheet immediately. And it is a question. It's a little bit dark out there. I imagine the track is a little bit cool, which I'm sure all the tires on all these cars are thankful for. But I think everybody's working in their tires, working up their heat, and just going quicker and quicker and quicker and quicker, as we often see in hypercar qualifying. But I do expect better things from Giacomi in the Genesis. After all, that's our championship leader at the moment. Callum Kerrigan in their Porsche, a hypercar that's also got an update, but I don't think that is the Evo package of the Porsche. I do believe that's the standard profiled wing, so I think we're good there. Callum not electing to transfer and remake a livery onto a car in moments notice. Decided to go with the old one, which totally respect that. But Jesse, I'm starting to think it is truly going to be anybody's guess who's going to be on pole. I know we only have 2 minutes left, but I think the track is evolving in such a way where it's just going to get quicker towards the end. Dion Smits is going really, really quick in the final sector and having to make his way around Callum Kerrigan, and he doesn't actually improve in the third sector, and he actually invalidated his lap, and I think he doesn't have fuel for qualifying. He got upset by that Porsche, I think, Jesse, that was ahead of him, but if you don't find enough space for yourself on track, these kinds of things do happen.
That might be the end of their qualifying. Smits, who was provisionally on pole just 3.5 minutes ago, may not even be inside the top five by the time qualifying ends. Clay into P1 in the BMW, the new high water mark, a 29.362, 5/100ths quicker than the Ferrari of Colombo in P2. Trisciani down to third. Drisha in for Smits holds on to fifth, but they are done. They are defenseless here in this qualifying session. Just about everybody else is out on a lap except Voken, who is on an out lap and may just get around to actually running a lap. And in fact, they do with 55 seconds left. Outside the top five, Badowski, Octane, Vaselli, Barr, Giacomi, Kerrigan, Wilkinson, Voken, DeGregor, Malcolm are the drivers that have taken time, and Mares and Scoro in the garage at this stage. Vandrisha comes across and will not improve enough. Giacomi comes across and doesn't improve enough as well. It's going to all come down to what Colombo can do. Quickest of all, Sector 1, personal best, Sector 2.
And he's coming through the final sector. Of course, no chicane on this variant. None of that corner that everybody absolutely hates. But around the final corner, looking pretty clean across the line, is purple in Sector 2 as well. Colombo's going to go to the top of the times. I don't think anybody is close enough to reach him. And if he has the fuel for it, he actually has enough time to go for another lap. It's Mohamed Colombo again showing how quick they can be. The margins, though, are super close. Top seven, about a second between them. Callum Kerrigan still improving. Just about everybody who's on circuit interestingly, is still improving. And oh, Dioger is just going a bit wide in that Aston Martin Valkyrie, a car that I do anticipate after reading the PDF. I think that's going to be a heck of a racing car. I think it's going to be really quick on a lot of circuits. If I'm wrong, so be it. Billy Octane in the Cadillac, which should get its Evo update coming to LMU very soon. Down in the first sector, up in the second. Jesse, it's going to need to be some miracle in the third for him to find himself up a few positions.
Yeah, but he was quicker. A personal best, sector 2 for Billy Octane coming through the final corner, and they will improve on their lap time. But, they will not gain many positions from that. Kerrigan coming across the line. That's the end of qualifying for them. Here comes Vaselli and was up in the middle again. We've seen that, but down in the third sector. So a pretty even lap to their best, sliding the Ferrari through across the line as everyone done with qualifying. And Colombo has done it.
Now, we'll see if that can be transferred into a back-to-back victory. Your qualifying results should be in front of us in just a second, and I will read them as fast as I can because we all know they sure do love to disappear at a moment's notice. Mohamed Colombo up on the pole in hypercar, Upton Clay in second, Eduardo Di Giacomi in third, Zina Vandrisha fourth, Alessio Trisciani in fifth, Smith sixth, Octane seventh, Marco Badowski in eighth, Vaselli, another disappointing qualifying for him in ninth, and George Barr rounds out your top 10 in hypercar. Moving on to the GT3s, Rune Azenpamber has really been quick in that Lexus and puts it on pole yet again. Joe Dauber, second, another good drive hoping from him. Gabriel Ruel in third, Emma Plate fourth, Martin Lawrence in fifth, Matt Townsend sixth, Jans Van Parijs in seventh, Daniel Hearn in eighth, and two Lamborghinis rounding us out with Kevin Boss and Finn Fayerts in GT3. And that might be the very first time that we have ever in the history of RCI and LMU. This isn't true. I'm just making this up. I'm just proud of myself. I got through it, Jesse. And I do believe we're going to have standings just in front of us. So take us through it.
Round number 4, and here's how we've gotten here through 3 rounds. Eduardo Di Giacomi with the 106 points in hypercar, leading everyone else. Some impressive races. Upton Clay in second place, 96 points. And then there's a bit of a gap, if we're completely honest, to Thomas Calbray in third place with 65, 1 point behind them. And out of the podium spot is Martin Vaselli. Zeno Vandrisha has 50 in fifth place. Rybecki on 44. Colombo has 40. Kerrigan on 34. Van de Voken at 33 points. And rounding out the top 10 in hypercar, 32 points for Dion Smits. Turning our attention to LMGT3, Rune Azenpamber has been absolutely lights out this entire season, and you could tell that by the points tally. 115 in the GT3 Lexus. Over Klaus Neiring with 74 in P2. Martin Lawrence holds on to third with 70 points. Christoph Estrepa with 66. Hearn rounds out your top 5 with 58. Behind them, Van Parijs, 53, tied with Emma Plata. Joe Dauber with 46. Kevin Boss on 33. Matt Townsend rounds out your top 10 in the Lexus with 30 points. A lot of positions halfway through this championship, Jack, open for grabs, I would say, all to play for still.
Oh, absolutely. And looking at it, it's very close. I think that Runaz and Pamber is pretty comfortable now that we're past the midway point, 3 rounds remaining, including tonight. It's starting to bring the championship fight into a bit more sharp focus. I had to say there's one standout name, which is Martin Vaselli, of course, last season's champion, not in a dominant fashion. It was a phenomenal fight with Zeno Vantrisha to the last lap of the final race. It was absolutely wonderful. But I think he may be regretting his switch from the Ferrari 499P, which was his baby, to the new boy, the Genesis, because he just hasn't found the pace. It's a quicker race car, at least it was before it was brutally BOP'd yesterday. But I feel like he's looking forward to maybe the end of the season so that he can switch over to another car. But championship's close in both classes all the way through. It's I mean, it's going to be a heck of a second half of the season, Jesse, and tonight's race is of course going to be no exception, and a bit of a nighttime race, which we only usually get for a desert circuit, and that's all to look forward to. Hopefully, the visibility is good enough that we can give you the play-by-play. But any pre-race predictions from you, Mr. Lee?
Well, the only thing I can predict is an apology from me because our graphic was incorrect for the hypercar standings. The correct hypercar standings is that Gaicomi is leading the championship with 106 points. 6 points behind them is Jupton Clay. They have 100 points even. Uh, Calbray has 65, and it goes on in that manner. Most of the positions were the same, however, but we do apologize for the inaccuracy of the math. They weren't my fault this time. I didn't do them. I promise you, they don't allow me to touch any of the fancy buttons in the scoring box. But no, all jokes aside, the graphic on the screen is correct. Our graphic overlay was being a bit silly indeed. Let's take this time to talk to the chat. Hello, Panzer. Hello, uh, Fabian Schmedberger. Kevin Boss joined us, and thank you very much for being with us. First race here in this configuration around Barcelona, 14 turns, just under 3 miles, 4.6, 4.8 kilometers around here. This track is so much better without the chicane. I think most people would agree. Jack, I'm nervous for him going down into turn one for the first time. Let's hope for the best. Let's hope for an excellent getaway from both classes. Take it away.
Yeah, hopefully this circuit in its first week of existence on LMU, everybody took to it, and the amount of short clips of absolute carnage in every class, in every race was something to behold. Our drivers, though, I anticipate greater things from them. They are great at many things, race starts being one of them. I feel like that's been a good thing that's been happening in everywhere I've been in the last 2 weeks, and hopefully tonight will be no exception because the green flag is out and we are underway. Eduardo Di Giacomi is looking immediately on the start to try to get ahead of our leaders, but it seems that it's going to be Jupton Clay and Zina Vendrisha that keep it. They're 4 wide going into turn one, and Giacomi's round, actually, excuse me, that was Martin Vaselli who just went rounds, and immediately a bit of carnage. That's the, I believe, oh my lord, I'm trying to make it out. We missed a couple of cars. Colombo as well, from the lead of the race, is back in the back, and now they're going to immediately have to make their way through on some GT3 traffic. It's more of that temperamental rear locking from the Genesis. Marco Badowski, Dion Smits as well, losing it, and I think it was all kicked off by Martin Vaselli. He looked fine going in, but very quickly snapping on the rears, and immediately you can see trying to make their way through on the GT3 field. The GT3s, however, looking a little bit more poised. I don't think I saw too much damage early on. Joe Dauber saying, hey, please move out of my way. I would like to go take the lead from the race. But Jesse, that was anything other than serene. We may be in the golden hour. It may be sunset, but that might be the sunset of a couple of our guys' race tonight.
Yeah, I think it caught a lot of drivers out there, and they tumbled down the order. That was not the start that they were looking for. Very inauspicious indeed. I echo your point. The LMGT3 field seemed to have gotten through pretty much unscathed. A couple of situations where they may have been 3 wide, but here is how it all shook out. Clay leads, Gaicomi and Voken the top 3, Drisha Octane the top 5. How on earth did some of those drivers make it through the melee? I will never know, but in fact they did. A couple not so lucky though. They will be picking up the pieces. Badowski, Colombo, just to name a few. Clay comes through leading lap number 1. LMGT3, completely different scenario. As in Pamber, Dauber, and Rule, kind of pretty much where you left them. Martin Lawrence in 4th, Imo Plata in 5, Van Paris in 6th place, maybe a little bit down, out of position from where we would expect them to be, but it is a long race, an hour and 20 minutes to go, or an hour 17 from now. My goodness, Clay.
Oh,
Oh my goodness, what has happened here? I didn't quite see it. Was that contact?
I think it looked like a little bit of contact side to side from DeGore into Viselli, but that also might have just been on the brakes again, because that is roundabout
That
where you
looks
start hitting the
strange.
brakes. Yeah, it looked supremely weird. Here's Viselli making a move. Or no, this is the replay that we were
It
looking for. It's
was.
just ahead. It was a little bit of side-to-side contact. I think Viselli was anticipating that DeGore would use up a little bit more of the road, go out towards on the curb, and the acid just sort of stopped, planted its feet, and unfortunately, Viselli found himself around for the second time in 2 laps. Yukta and Clay sets another fastest lap, the first true fast lap of the night, and I do have to say, it seems that certain drivers are appreciating the wonderful flashers that these cars have to offer, as it's Trisciani being overtaken by Dion Smits. We saw he was using them quite a bit in qualifying. He seems to be doing the same now, but already an almost uncharacteristic amount of stakes immediately out of Martin Viselli.
Yeah, it's been a frustrating start. Viselli, Colombo, just to name a few of the drivers, a couple of them have fallen down the wayside. And now you've got this sort of effect now where you've got cars that certainly would have qualified much higher up that are in the middle of this pack, and now they've got to pick their way through. We've already seen Viselli have an issue trying to pick their way through traffic, and that's how easily it can change. One mistake on that first turn, that first lap, and then all of a sudden you're back in the pack, and it just goes from bad to worse to a nightmare in a hurry. It's anything but a nightmare for Clay up in front of the field, leading that BMW. Gaicomi in second, losing time. 2/10 that last sector, in fact, did Gaicomi lose to Clay, as they're side by side here in the background. The new Toyota of Smits and Kerrigan fighting each other. Looks like Smits is going to win that battle for the time being, as Clay out in front in that clean air resets quick lap again.
Seems to really be setting a statement piece early in his BMW in this race. One of the big gainers from the start was Billy Octane in his Cadillac. He's currently up in 5th, and now finally, a little bit on the edge of our seats, see what the heck happened in lap 1. You can see one of the Ferraris comes over super aggressively, and then you can see Vesely loses it on the rear, and I think on their own, it was Colombo into Smits. I don't even think they were tagged at all by
I think I know what
the
happened.
Genesis. Please enlighten.
They were 4 wide into a 90-degree right-hand turn.
You know, I think, ladies and gentlemen, I don't even think you need to be as experienced as Jesse Lee to call that. Thank goodness
You're right.
for
You're
the
right,
slow
though. Look
motion,
at that Genesis. Exactly what we saw in qualifying, exactly what I described happening to me this week, and unfortunately happened in the middle of the field to the entire hypercar class.
Yeah, into Colombo, and then Colombo comes across into Smits. Smits is like, I'm safe over here. I'm not even on the racing circuit. Oh, wait, I'm not. Begins to go around. Dion Smits, though, you can tell fighting through the mid-pack early on is driving maybe a bit angry. He's got the bit between his teeth, but you can
Look
just
at this
see everybody
Peugeot, by the
trying to
way.
react. Oh, great reactions. Go left, go right, go one
double
way.
mobile chicane right there. Very smart.
Yep.
Slowed the car down, got it turned, got it braked, and didn't have any extra contact. It was able to pick their way through. Lost a bunch of time for some positions, but it all worked out. We got a car that is flagged in the 3rd sector. It looks like George Barr is going to DNF from the hypercar class, our first real retirement. Tucky's showing up on the screen in LMGT3, but I'm pretty sure they didn't actually start the race. So George Barr is our first retirement of the race after some bother in sector number 3. Let's take a look at the tire graph and see how everyone's doing after the first 6 or so minutes of the race, what they're on. A lot of mediums. Billy Octane on hards. We've seen him do that consistently in this championship, running the race on hards. I'm actually being told that that actually might not be fully correct, that he also might be running a hard medium setup the way that a lot of other drivers are. So split strategy, Jack, as we become accustomed to in the hypercar class.
Yeah, I think it's interesting just how many cars are running those mediums. And I did know this was what Billy was going to do. He was actually asking me before the race, since he and I will be taken to Barcelona tomorrow morning. He's asking, hey, tires, what do you think? And I was like,
Oh my
that's
goodness.
a bit of a wiggle for Badowski. But
Oh my
wait,
goodness.
I think that's Deion Smith who's
Malcolm.
around. I think he just got, oh
It's
no, it
Malcolm.
is. You're right. It's Matt Malcolm, who was around in the Genesis. I think he got tagged again immediately. So let's see. This is Smits. And here's Matt Malcolm. Was it assisted, maybe? You can see Matt Malcolm is in the Genesis ahead. He starts to turn in for turn 12, and it just starts to get loose on him, and he just goes round, and Smits has to go on the anchors, and that allows for a bit of shifting. But Deion Smits, wrong place, wrong time, my friend, in tonight's race. He's just trying to go for a nice drive. He's got cars going left, right, and center in front of him. But we'll see. See on the turn in, it's just a little bit late on the turn. It starts to go round, and immediately Smith sees it, and he's going to straighten his wheel out, start to hit the brakes. And I actually don't think he made contact with Matt Malcolm
No.
in super
there is
slow
another-
motion.
This is super.
a little bit.
He did make a little bit of contact, and I dare say I spotted more contact right there in the mirror. You could see it. I didn't see the initial with Malcolm there, but another hypercar coming through did indeed make some contact. I think that was Dehora in the other Genesis, or not Genesis. That's an Aston. Actually, I'm not sure. It might have been Vaselli for all I know. I know one of those cars back there definitely made more significant contact in the background there. The fading light and the dazzling lights do not help identifying the cars at all. Azam Pamper continues to lead in LMGT3 over Dauber and Rule, but all those cars are separated by less than a second. Clay was starting to run away with a little bit of a lead over Giacomi, but that gap has settled in and perhaps has started to go the opposite way for P1 in Hypercar. Meanwhile, Colombo is attempting to pick their way through the field, and they're doing a little bit better job of it than some. They've made more than half of the distance up, and they have just retaken the quickest lap of the race.
Yipton Clay seeming really, really stable out there, really, really happy. Milan van der Vecken, this is the first time I think we've really seen him up in the top 10. He's had a bit of a tricky season, and this is a bit of a tricky place to go in, and bumps the back of the Porsche and maybe misjudges that just a little bit. And you can see in the rear view mirror, the BMW of Zeno Van Drisha is actually going to go around him. These two, of course, Flanders Esports teammates. No team orders here tonight, as Zeno is going to try it down the inside, but the track goes back the way of Milan van der Vecken. A little bit of door-to-door between the two of them, a little bit of hypercar love in the Flanders camp, and it seems that Milan van der Vecken has made it through. But these two both showing really, really good pace in qualifying, what seems like immediately good pace in the race, but on the exit of the final corner, turn 14, so named Catalunya, Zeno Van Drisha is going to go for a run. The straight line specialist between the two. I have no idea which car's quicker, but on the brakes, it seems to be just dead even. But from the inside, Zeno Van Drisha is going to take that position. Thank you very much. I'm up to third now, and he's probably going to try to put Milan in the rear view. But I got to say, between these two here today, I couldn't pick out which one's going to be quicker. There's Kevin Boss in the Pfaff Huracan. I'm only shouting it out because it's the most beautiful car ever made. I'm just saying that to ruffle some feathers. But a lot of action here, Jesse, for sure.
Oh,
after
mixed class.
Yeah, multi-class madness. I think this
All
needs to
three
be
wide down the
renamed
middle.
to.
That's absolutely crazy going through Repsol. That's not where you want to do it. And they may be 3 wide by the time they get to 5. They sort it out to single file for the moment, but they don't sort it out. BMW off stage right in the exit of turn number 5. You could almost see that coming, as they couldn't sort it out before they got to the corner.
That's unbelievable. I don't know if you saw it, but Deion Smits picking his spot down the inside, getting past Callum Kerrigan amongst 4 other cars that were there. Beautifully picked out. And ultimately, at this stage, I think everybody's just looking to survive. Deion Smits, though, he said, no, my qualifying was good. This car is quick. I want to move forward immediately, not wasting any times on his run back towards the front of the field. Callum Kerrigan pretty happy in ninth. Matt Malcolm, though, I don't think he's very happy in
Those tires
the
are bad.
Genesis. I think they are limited to 12 tires in this race, so perhaps he'd have another set waiting for him in the wings if he chose to take it. This is into turn 9, right towards the back straight. A pretty wow. I was going to say a pretty trivial corner in a hypercar, but I think, Jesse, I think those rear tires are not just scalded and destroyed. They are way too hot.
Yeah, I think that you slide him once and you get yourself into trouble. Matt Malcolm here is going to come down pit lane. He's had enough. This will effectively, and you hope they've gone long enough to be able to run this race in reverse. So instead of running to the last, which is the favored strategy, they'll run it in reverse. They'll back time the entire event. So Malcolm's going to be on an economy run, is what I'm trying to say from here on out. But it's got to be worth it. You've had 2 spins. The car is a little bit uncontrollable, but this may or may not be the scheduled stop. He may have to come in again. Jack, what is your stats and information tell you?
He's not going to make it. I think if he does, he's basically going to have to slow that car down to a crawl to the point where he's already off sequence. He's already a bit, going to be a bit slow. He's got to warm those new tires up. He's going to be off anyways. The longest I feel like you can go is about an hour and 3 minutes, 39 laps of driving, and that is with a fair bit of lift and coast, a fair bit of general fuel saving tips, but maybe he could pull another lap. Maybe he could do a 40-lap stint. Granted, I think at this point, if I was Matt Malcolm, I'm just going to send it. I'm going to push, and just try to make something happen rather than slowing down. But it's a tricky roll of the dice for sure for Matt Malcolm. I think, Jesse, because, we chatted about the Genesises and how they might be tricky to drive. And as I haven't driven one, I don't think I will be driving one because this thing looks like an absolute handful. I do think Matt Malcolm's getting some damage repair. We saw him go into the barrier. Now he's finally underway, but I think there's no way to cut it. It is the start of a long evening for Matt Malcolm.
Yeah, I wonder if he puts that thing in economy, if he's got a shot, because at that point he was sitting there, and we reckon he needs an hour and 3 to 4 minutes of fuel. He got really close with the damage repair, and I do wonder if he can put that thing in eco mode and limp it home without having to come down again. That might be what he tries to do. Whether or not he's able to achieve that, that remains to be seen. But I think that was a smart choice instead of having to continue on those damaged tires. But honestly, that's what I felt in the Genesis. I felt that weird sort of brake under snap, or snap under braking, and it was sudden, it was uncontrollable, and it was not reactable. You could not do anything. You couldn't save it. And we saw a couple of the Genesis cars do that this evening, and that's exactly what I experienced. I don't know if it's an issue with the setup of the car exactly, or it's a quirk that we haven't figured out yet. But Callum Kerrigan has just went off in a pretty considerable way, and he's just recovering it now. Remains to be seen, was there contact there, or was that an off? I think it's hard to tell on the camoed car, but that might be, it's certainly damaged there. I don't need to look at the body. The steering completely damaged. A little bit of a push on the steering wheel, and it spins again. The toe link completely destroyed. Just trying to get the Vulcan liveried car, the Porsche, back to the pit lane here. This is very dangerous indeed. The car barely drivable. Joe Dalber, by the way, has taken the lead in LMGT3 and all the mayhem that we've just been talking about. Joe Dalber has passed Azim Pamber and left him for a second now.
That's unbelievable. I mean, Dalber showed some really, really solid pace in that new Corvette, and I think we're going to get a replay of just how it went down. Joe Dalber, of course, the Popo in the back of shot, Rune Azim Pamber, the Flanders in the front.
Oh, there we go. That'll do it.
There it goes. Getting loose into turn 7. And it's a super tricky corner, no matter what car you're in. I've had a crash or two there. I know some other people that have as well. And just Lexus got loose. Dauber said, cool, I nailed that corner. Booyah. And we'll see what happened to Callum Kerrigan as well in a moment, perhaps. Maybe, probably. Maybe, yes. Callum Kerrigan, was it involved with a bit of a Peugeot there? You can see Pug trying to make its way around the outside. They're giving each other space, and it's just a little bit of a touch. You can't see
Oh, my
it,
goodness.
but now you do. That's a huge hit into the wall. Where he came back onto the circuit, I thought maybe it was just a lone spin, Jesse, but
Yeah.
not so. I think just a little bit of running out of room and a huge snap for Callum Kerrigan.
That'll do it. That'll do the toe links on the entire left side hand of that car, which would explain why it was left hand down. Coming through the pit lane, the tire, the suspension collapsed. It's not connected to a tie rod, so it's just flopping away, and you got to put a lot of left in it to keep it going straight. And after an additional spin, Callum Kerrigan able to get the car back to the pit lane. I dare say that's more significant of a problem than Matt Malcolm had a lap or so prior. So Malcolm inevitably here is going to likely get that position back. He's going to be out of the bottom, and that's why you continue on, because you can never tell. Clay continues to lead. Gaicomi 4.8 seconds the gap, first to second in Hypercar. Vandrisha third, Voken fourth, and Colombo in fifth place. Now that is remarkable progress. Remember, that car was almost in the very back indeed at the very end of lap number one. They've driven up inside the top five recently, getting by, well, I say recently, not so recently, getting by Billy Octane, though Colombo is attempting to fight Voken for fourth place. Keep an eye on Colombo. If anyone, Jack, was going to be able to claw their way all the way back and win this race, it would be the Ferrari, it looks like.
It does look like, and I'm looking at the energy between these two cars. Obviously, that's not the whole picture. I can see the whole picture, and it actually looks like Mohamed Colombo has the most fuel out of the top five, and given his pace, that is absolutely remarkable. I know 2% doesn't seem like a whole lot, but once you get for another, 40 minutes, 30 minutes of driving, that's an extra lap at least. And that means less stationary time in the pit stop, which is some more crucial seconds. I think we might have found our underdog, our dark horse for the evening. I think it's Mohamed Colombo. He's now going for a late move on Milan van der Vecken. He doesn't quite get it slowed down, and van der Vecken is going to want that back and gets it back immediately. Colombo going to the escape road, but that shows intent. He says, I'm not waiting around. You are in my way. I'm looking at Upton Clay. I'm looking at P1. And you can see Matt Malcolm is back, and I think he's actually the car right behind these two, warming up those tires, rolling it through in the new Genesis livery. That was a very long drag of the brakes for Zeno Vandrisha. I think he's off, actually. Yeah, Zeno Vandrisha in turn number 5 is off.
What is going on? What is going on here? The car stuck in reverse, it looked like, went all the way across the gravel trap into the tire pack. What on earth happened to Zeno Vandrisha? Let's ride with him and see. Everything's normal here with the BMW. It's going to have an off. Locked the brakes there, goes off into the gravel, head first into the wall, reversing almost as if it's going to reverse back onto the track, thinks better of it, but doesn't stop, goes all the way hard into the wall. What on earth would have caused that?
I'm thinking rage. I think Zeno Vandrisha, because in that corner you can go deep like that, but to tag that wall, that's a bit of damage. That's quite a bit, and I think he just realizes, well, my race is pretty much over. Let's just remove the rear wing. That is a bit surprising, though. Zeno always sort of seemed to me like he was a pretty headstrong driver. He was able to take his licks and keep on ticking, but today, Zeno Vandrisha is going to be our second retirement of the night in the hypercar class, or second retirement of the night, period. Billy Octane now finding himself, I was going to say under threat. He isn't quite, because that is Matt Malcolm behind, and we've got Triciani in the Peugeot just behind. I don't know why I said it like that, but it does seem that the field's already starting to spread out. Barcelona is, I feel like most people think of it as a pretty easy circuit. You look at the layout, Jesse, I feel like it's like, all right, cool, mid-speed, high-speed, whatever. Seems pretty straightforward, but in a hypercar, I think, something without ABS, prototypes are the same way. There's such an increased level of difficulty that I think people don't often think enough about.
I want everyone to mark it down as Matt Malcolm has gone off again for a moment. They are able to recover it, but I want you all to mark it down. Colombo is 14 seconds behind Clay for the lead of this race with 57 minutes to go. I have been doing the maths, as you might expect. And if he continues to set the torrid pace that he is on, and with a little luck, I am pretty confident Colombo can get there, but they're going to need just about a perfect race from here on out. And when they catch Gaikomi, they're going to need a clean and decisive quick pass. Little interclass action going on here, though, between Vaselli and Reese Wilkinson as they race in the middle of the pack for 9th place. And that could have gotten a little bit scary indeed as they navigate the GT traffic, but they were able to get that taken care of. Remember earlier I mentioned Matt Malcolm and Kerrigan might be somewhere near together after all of that? Well, they are, in fact. Callum Kerrigan, after Matt Malcolm's most recent off, Kerrigan has come to pit lane, repaired all of that suspension damage. It finds themselves back in front of Matt Malcolm again, only they're not fighting for 13th. Jack, they're fighting for 12th now.
Yeah, absolutely. If this keeps up, they could be fighting for a top 10. That's points that are worth taking. And at the end of the day, these two good friends and oftentimes teammates, and I know they're in a voice chat together right now, and I'm sure they're egging each other on, being like, well, this is way more fun than the alternative. Ultimately, you know, if you're at the back of the field, hey, suddenly you have a playmate. Are we a lap down? Sure. Are we going to fight like it's for the lead of the race? Probably. So I'm sure we're going to see some spirited driving from the two. Immediately, Matt Malcolm is pushing as the Peugeot behind, driven by Marco Badowski, is just having a look, seeing what these two are up to. Ultimately is going to be asked to let by and ultimately be let by. News from the chat from Zeno Van Driesche. As it turns out, he wasn't just angry and driving into a wall like I expected. He is headstrong. His pedals gave up.
Yeah.
He ultimately just, as he's in his words, I have zero luck this season. Super unfortunate for Zeno.
Yeah, I kind of suspected that something like that happened because the car reverses randomly, and it's almost like Zeno realizes that he's about to re-enter the track, and he sort of adjusts it, and it looked like he may have been sort of fighting it a little bit all the way back to the wall, but very strange situation indeed. A mechanical failure on top of an off. That sort of explains that entire situation going on there, but that will be a retirement for Van Driesche, and certainly echo that sentiment. Absolutely zero luck this season for the driver of the BMW.
It's just, you know, I talk about it every time it happens. I feel like it's fair, and if it's seen in this is the equivalent of random mechanical failures that you get in real life motorsport. It ultimately is random. It's not going to happen to a particular person, hopefully more than once. It's like a random internet disconnection, as is a sim, pedal failure or wheelbase failure or anything like that. Martin Vaselli has entered pit lane a bit early, thinking that maybe I'm going to do something different. I wonder, though, because we did see a couple of spins, maybe those tires are tired. Maybe there's a bit of damage that he would like to be repaired. But I think at this point, Jesse, Vaselli's plan might be similar to Callum Kerrigan and Matt Malcolm's, though he's not going to have trouble making it to the end on this fuel. I think he's just going for the super undercut. And if he shows good pace, this could work for him.
Didn't change tires on Vaselli's car as far as I could tell, but it's sitting there extra long. I'm imagining that they're not that they may be fixing damage or something on that car as well, but they can make it from here with 100% virtual energy, and they will have that when they exit. So they're sort of running the race backwards. They've got themselves in a spot of trouble, and they're just going to run the race backwards the best they possibly can. Still in the pit lane is Vaselli. I wonder if maybe they've had some extensive damage that they're dealing with just coming out of the pit lane now in 11th place, but crucially with full energy and enough to get them to the end of the race. Kerrigan and Malcolm may not finish inside the top 10, but it doesn't matter. The two mates, the driving wheel to wheel here, gonna get the absolute most out of Barcelona and their time here in the multi-sprint Friday championship here on RCI TV. Thank you so much for being with us, by the way, as they go side by side for 5th place. Billy Octane has it. Billy's going to run a little bit wide. Here comes Trisciani. Trisciani through. Smith's looking to recover some positions here. A flash of the lights, nothing doing. Trisciani up to 5th. Octane down to 6th. Octane held on for a while, though, before that happened, but now finds himself the meat in the sandwich.
It's just looking like maybe that Cadillac isn't too comfortable here today. Billy is by no means a slow driver. Seems that he's just struggling just a little bit. Maybe it could be the temperatures. Maybe it could be his tires not agreeing with him. Dion Smits, though, looking super, super hungry just behind. That is the leading pair of LMGT3s. As and Pamber just got overtaken now. And you can see the 5-0 just ahead is Joe Dauber, who still hung on to that lead. He got it via a mistake from Mazen Pamber, but he is now absolutely holding on to it by merit. Dion Smits is being real funny with the flashers tonight. He is using them at all points in this race, and he's going to go for it down the inside, and I think he might actually be able to hang on to it. That Toyota looked excellent through there, far better than the Cadillac. Dion Smits set it up on the brakes, had it set up down the straight, a little bit of a wiggle coming out. But I just think that Toyota has more to give tonight, and Dion Smits having a bit more within him than perhaps Billy in the caddy, which I think I can hear, Jesse. I think I hear a small bit of weeping from Ted Edwards because he's sad to see his caddy fall so far.
Yeah, it still sounds one of the best cars in LMU, but unfortunately for our broadcaster, Ted Edwards, the caddy falling back a little bit, back to where they qualified, in fact, mind you, but still in the hunt here, a long way to go. Anything can happen, and the one thing I know about the Estonian driver, they're very opportunistic, and they don't always have to be the quickest, and we've already seen so many cars fall out of it already in the hypercar class this evening that anything is possible, and this measured, smart driving by Octane could pay dividends by the end of this race. We've seen him make up spots in pit road before, so you never quite know, too, what strategy everyone is on. Faertz has gone off and is taking the motorcycle lane, is what they're actually doing. I don't think I've seen I think that was a motorcycle lane, unless that was turn one's sort of ribbon area out there. We'll see exactly what happened here. 3 and a 1's not going to go, and that is the motorcycle lane. I was right the first time. P2, Guy Comey very nearly wiped out. Faertz lucky as well that there was no major damage, and from that to DeHorier, who may have had an issue. Is this going to be a brake lock issue? No one around them. Looked good coming into the corner, just lost it mid-corner.
I think that's maybe just two things: carrying a bit too much speed and also suddenly dropping the brakes mid-corner. It's something that can upset the rear of those hypercars. I've done that spin, as I've done pretty much every corner on the circuit I've spun. I know it has only been around for a couple of weeks, maybe only 2 months at this point, but believe me, I've spun just about everywhere, as is my nature. We're going to give Joe Dauber some love tonight. We haven't seen a whole lot from him, except for when he took the lead, and he's been holding on to it. Rune Azimpamber holding on to the back, though, hasn't let Dauber get around. Trisciani in the Peugeot from 6th position just spun. to some degree, or lost it to some degree, giving Octane back 6th position. And, you know, sometimes, as I do often say, you don't necessarily have to be the fastest driver. You could also be the driver that makes the least mistakes. De Gore maybe making a mistake themselves, a yellow flag appearing for them. Malcolm doing a trio. It's a triforce of whoopsies here at Barcelona, and it's I think for a lot of these drivers, it is just going to be a pretty long race. Malcolm decided, though, Jesse, that his race was long enough, and he decided to retire. And I think this is why.
Let me guess. A braking issue. Looks to no, in the middle of the corner. Same thing as one of the previous spins. Gets to the middle of the corner, not on the apex, and the car just gets out from under him. And he's going to do a 19-point turn, thinks better of it, says, you know what? Let's take the Matt Malcolm racing car to the garage. Meanwhile, all that was going on. This was going on.
Is it a repeat of what we just saw?
He
Similar.
yeah,
little
he
bit
just he destabilized the car. He was running up on the back of that LMGT3, and he had to brake mid-corner, and you really can't do that with aero-sensitive race cars. He's fine here, but he's going to have to do something here to keep from running into him, and the second he does, Tristiani spins himself. He does the right thing. It's the smart thing. It's the safe thing. It's the thing we love to see here at RCI, respecting other drivers, but just a frustrating moment for Tristiani, doing the right thing, spinning themselves, and rejoining on the racetrack, but luckily nobody else was around.
Yupton Clay, as we're looking at this here, De Gore losing it in turn 7. Yupton Clay has just lost the lead of the race. Several. I do not anticipate it's going to be the last, but a change for the lead amongst all of this. De Gore's getting going. Here's a replay of Yupton Clay when he lost it just a moment ago. Never mind, we're going to the live pictures. Here's our replay of where it went wrong.
Leading by 10
BMW's
seconds.
Been completely untouchable all night, and
Oh,
it looks
huge.
similar to Zeno Vandrisha. Is it the same thing? It's the exact same incident again of just super deep on the brakes. Hopefully this time there's no pedal issue along with it. The same corner, same sort of braking technique, but that's just way too late. You can see turning the lock, downshifting, and just hoping that he's going to make it. But at this point, there's nothing he can do. And the gravel can slow you down so much, but ultimately, biffed in the wall. You can see, Jesse, that's just, as a driver, you know when it's gone wrong, and you're just like, if I keep turning the steering wheel, maybe it will rotate. Unfortunately, it doesn't. And from the lead to now in pit lane, Yupton Clay. Oh, that's a tricky one.
Oh my goodness. Clay, the big winner and beneficiary of the opening lap melee, kept it clean and not really put a foot wrong all race long, and it all goes the other way in turn number 5. He's the second victim of that corner this evening that's made it all the way to the wall in the hypercar class. That will give the lead back over to Giacomi. Colombo is now up to P2. And Clay is doing something quite interesting here. They refilled enough energy to make it to the end of the race, but they haven't fixed all of the damage. The wheel's still misaligned, telling us that there is toe link damage, presumably on the right-hand side of the car based on how it's pulling. Are they going to try and grin and bear this for 43 minutes, or was that a mistake of a box not being checked?
I was going to say, my theory was exactly what you just said, Jesse, was that when you go into the pit menu, there are two options. When you're repairing, it is repair body, which is your body panels, your diffusers, your rear wings, your front bumper as such. And there's repair all, which includes suspension damage. I can't imagine that Yupton Clay thought it's only worth fixing the bodywork and not worth fixing the suspension. I think in panic, he only really had half a lap to determine that he was going to pit in and need to repair the car. I don't think he clicked the multifunction display all the way over. And you can see how slowly he's going. If you're curious how it is to warm up tires, If you notice, that hypercar is about as fast as these LMGT3s. That is the reality of tire warm-up in a hypercar. But this is the lead, which is closed up just a bit. Rune Azenpamber is close behind Joe Dauber. The thing that sticks out to me, Jesse, is, as I always talk about, the fuel, the virtual energy. Dauber 4% down there or thereabouts from Rune Azenpamber, which means he's had to push harder to hold on to this lead, while Azenpamber's sort of been controlling their pace, doing a bit of fuel saving, and trying to separate themselves. And are there any standouts that you see now that we have the full energy display on our tower, Jesse, that sort of points out to you?
Yeah, I mean, Van Parijs in 5th place has considerably less than anyone else. That's a huge disadvantage. 27%. Hearn has 28, but that is a vast chasm of difference. That's a lap or two. That's several laps difference at the midway point of this race, and that's not really good fuel economy there out of that particular car. Not quite sure what they have been up to. Just been on it, I guess, perhaps in this race. But shout out to Azenpamber. They, remember, went off the road into the sand. No spin, but did lose the lead in LMGT3, but they've never fallen behind Joe Dauber's Corvette. And if anything, they have certainly closed in. It was a second or so a few laps ago. It's now less than half of a second. Joe Dauber continues to lead. Azenpamber there. Trissiani has just gone off in the Peugeot, and they've made it to the barrier and retired.
That was something that was big from Trissiani. Let's see where it went wrong. Is it going to be a similar event to Callum Kerrigan? Maybe, perhaps. It's a little bit loose. It starts to go round, and he tries to catch it.
Oh, my
That is
goodness.
a rear wheel in the air. That is a rear wing in the air. And Trissiani, even if, honestly, even if he wanted to make it back to pit lane, there's an opportunity he couldn't. He very well might have been stuck in the gravel.
I saw this
Well,
earlier.
here.
Rule
Third.
DNF. This was about 10 minutes ago, but this is Rule DNFing out of the middle of the pack, was running 4th.
It just keeps getting worse. He's trying to get it back going again. Spun in the grass a couple times. Maybe thought, hey, I've lost so much time at this point. Who gives a toss? I'm just going to park it up and go to the next one. The snaps we've been seeing today, Jesse, are unlike any I've seen on any other circuit. This is unbelievable. Vaselli, he's fine. He's up on that curb, though. And you can see the car is unsettled. I think as soon as it touches down, see Vaselli already trying to wrestle with the controls. He tries to turn it back left to control it. He's almost overcorrected, and bam! Huge shot into the wall. And it's so quick. It's so sudden. As a driver, you do your best to handle it, but you've already lost 5 hypercars. They've been so good this season about sort of outlasting most of the GT3s. But tonight, it's 5-1. 5 hypercars gone, 1 GT3 gone. But fortunately for a select few, like Callum Kerrigan, it's worked in their favor, Jesse. I hate to say that I caused this, because I, maybe said, hey, you could get a top 10. I didn't want this to happen. I wasn't planning for it. Call it a commentator's curse, but I don't see any signs of stopping for the incidents.
Well, Barcelona is one of those tracks where you don't necessarily associate it with DNFs. So usually you have incidents here. In a GT car, you can kind of get away with it, and I think we've seen that illustrated tonight, is that a lot of the GT3s have made mistakes and they've got away with it. The problem is that hypercars are going considerably more, fast, and they're cornering way quicker. And what's happening is they get into trouble. They don't have any time to recover, and the walls, they just go straight on into them, and that ends their night. We've seen tires flying this evening. It's been a bit chaotic. Look at this, bumper to bumper here. A touch perhaps from Pamber on Joe Dauber. The race for LMGT3 hots up into turn 5, running almost completely out of room as Pamber, as they get it just about broken around the corner for turn number 5 as they head down into 6 and 7. 6 and 7. I said it. The police Corvette doing their best to stay in front, if only just at this stage of the race. An excellent defense by Dauber. Pamber trying to keep him honest, though.
He's doing his best, both of them, to hang with it. I think Pamber maybe realizing that maybe I want the track position now, because ultimately if you're saving fuel and you're behind the car, you'd be happy with it. But Pamber just seems that bit more confident on the brakes than Dauber does. The front engine layout maybe working out better on Barcelona than the mid layout of the C8 GT3R. And actually, Joe Dauber's going to come in. This is a bit early. I like it a lot too. If you don't think, and Jesse, you say this all the time, and if you don't think you're going to beat the guy on pace, you have to do something different. I will echo exactly what you said last night. You will not win by playing their game. Yes, Pamber was behind, but Joe Dauber was seeing what we were seeing better than us, which is that I don't think I'm going to hold on to this position. Let's pit in now. Let's go out there, and let's beat him in the second stint.
Yeah, I mean, what Dauber probably did was he held him back, Pamber, that is, held him back for a couple of laps. So Joe decides, well, that was really close on that last lap. He nearly got me coming through Repsol that time. So I'm at the verge of my pit window. I'm going to come in because I've done my job. I'm going to use the undercut, knowing that in LMU that people can favor the undercut. I love what we just saw. We saw Colombo and Guy Colmy flash each other in a bit of communication. Folks, it's not Morse code, it's driver code, and a message was transmitted and received between those two cars, the Ferrari and the Genesis.
It's always a bit of conversating going on. You sort of talk, and you have limited ways to do it, one of which, especially when it's dark like this, use the headlights. Jesse, I know one of your favorite pastimes is trying to decrypt what drivers might be saying to one another. I feel like that may be a nod of maybe mutual respect from the two, because after all, these were your top two in the wet at Imola last week, basically down to the final lap. It was down to the final lap in terms of who was going to take victory. It was Colombo that time. They're sort of fighting for honors at this point, and it's, you know, maybe a rivalry brewing perhaps, but one of respect, I think, and it's beautiful to see. And 35 minutes thereabouts remaining. We're getting close to the pit stops. There's still a bit of time, but I think that's going to be our next big shakeout.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. We watched this replay of Callum Kerrigan having more issues. Those tires probably not happy after earlier and just losing it center off, flashing the lights and sort of maybe warning or frustration there as they'll get back around. But no, I absolutely agree with you, Jack. Between the two leaders, what that was, Colombo, obviously the quicker of the two cars, gets all the way up to P2 in the melee and gets the lead back. And Guy Comey flashes them after the fact, almost like a GG's. And Colombo flashes their lights in respect and appreciation. And they drive on into the night, into their racing. Because if I'm Colombo, I feel pretty good about what I've done. Certainly that Ferrari must be handling quite well. But if I'm Guy Comey, I'm not too upset right now. And I'll tell you why. If I'm Guy Comey, I've seen several drivers Bennett out of absolutely nowhere. I can't control what the other drivers do. I can only control what I do. So I'm running second. I'm not under threat right now. It has been a race of attrition. Tristiani, Vaselli, Malcolm, Drisha, Barr, all out of the race here at the halfway point. And there's nothing saying that can't happen to Colombo.
Absolutely. And when did you mark the time? You said, ladies and gentlemen, look at the time. Let's see how long it takes for Mohamed Colombo to
Oh yeah,
retake the lead of the race.
yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
he had to overtake one less car than we had thought, but he's done it, and he's still got 30
Did
minutes
it?
to go.
Yeah, he did it in less than 30 minutes.
Unbelievable drive from Mohamed Colombo, the first of our LMGT3 drivers to come down pit lane at the more expected time. Of course, Joe Dauber came in nice and early. Van Parijs is now in their Aston Martin. One of the cars that we were noting was using maybe a bit too much fuel, a lot more than the others, and thinking that, hey, Dauber's doing it. He was running at the lead. Maybe he knows something I don't. Maybe this was always the plan. But one of the many Flanders Esports drivers coming into pit lane now, trying something alternate on the strategy. And I think with the race that's unfolding tonight, Jesse, is I think it's a day for trying something new, because it's kind of anybody's guess who's going to finish, where they're going to finish, and I'm liking it. I'm liking the deep undercut, something we usually don't end up seeing in these races, and I think it's going to go
Yeah.
pretty well for him.
No, I agree. Usually we see this sort of hive mind mentality where everyone pits within a lap or so of each other, and we're not really seeing that. We're seeing everybody, because it was such a chaotic start of the race and you're not necessarily where you expected to be. You're seeing a lot of these different strategies, a lot of different things that they almost are required to do because of how the race started for them, almost reactionary. You never really want to have to be reactionary in a race like this, but it is very possible that that is why we're seeing it. But the leader in the LMGT3 field, Azam Pamber, into the pit road, one of the leaders tonight, I should say. In and out, we're going to see where they come in. Remember, Joe Dauber pitted several laps ago to attempt the undercut. Where is Joe Dauber's police liveried Corvette? And
He's nowhere close.
yeah, it's not even. It is not even close. Exiting the pit lane is Azam Pamber. Joe Dauber just now on the pit straight. An easy win for Azam Pamber here.
Joe Dauber took tires. Joe Dauber absolutely took tires. He had to have. That's that 12-second gap. 12 seconds to get new tires, maybe 2 seconds to slow down and warm them up. I think Joe Dauber, he went super different. He took a bit of extra fuel so he knows he can push, and he put on a fresh set of boots. I think he's going to go for this one.
Well, where I'm from, Jack, we call that loading the wagons, and that's exactly what, if that is indeed what Joe Dauber has done, that is what they're doing. He's loading the wagons, he's firing the lasers, and he is damming the torpedoes. He's going out there and he's going for broke. He must have thought, there's no way I beat Azam Pamber on sheer pace, but maybe I can do it with 4 fresh tires, and that's exactly what he's done. He's going to try and beat him on strategy here. He's got the better part of 12 seconds or more to make up. Actually, it's down to 10.5 seconds now, Azam Pamber to Dauber, and he's got 29.5 minutes to get it done. As we've been talking, Martin Lawrence has DNF'd. I thought they may have come in. Martin Lawrence has DNF'd from the lead, being told that he has disconnected, and that is another. This is what happened. He's missed the pit lane. He's come in hot, and he's parked the car from the lead of the race to a DNF. Martin Lawrence Ford Mustang is out.
I'm wondering, because I feel like that's a mistake. You can sort of get away with it. He just didn't make it. I don't think he had enough fuel to actually make the next lap. So I think he realized, I've made a terrible error, and is now just figured it's better to DNF than to basically sputter out of fuel when everybody's watching. Fortunately for Martin, we were watching. I don't know though, because it says he has in the garage 11.4% of fuel. That's enough for a couple laps more. Now that I'm looking at it, that's interesting. We're hearing that maybe a theory from our broadcast director, which he might be right, there might be some validity to this. He's cutting the white lines in and out of pit lane, so he maybe was anticipating a full maximum penalty, maybe an instant disqualification or maybe an instant drive-through penalty, neither of which he wanted to take. So he ended up parking it up, which I think is interesting. This is just, I don't think it's anybody's night tonight.
I disagree. I hard disagree. It's almost nobody's night, but it is Colombo's night, and right now it's Azim Pamber's night, and before it's over, it might be Joe Dalber's night. I think it could be a couple of guys, but for the most part, you are absolutely right. DNF after DNF, a couple of incidents and a couple of penalties. Martin Lawrence was coming to pit lane, has DNF'd as he attempted to do his scheduled pit stop, adding to the pile. Jack, you may have more.
Yeah, Martin Lawrence is angry. He's frustrated. As often racing drivers get in the heat of battle, something goes wrong, something doesn't go their way, they're upset, but he's definitely a bit upset. I think it was just out of frustration that he left. He had enough fuel. He was able to go through, but right now he's in the chat for the season, for the series, and is saying some choice words, many of which that I will not say on a stream. I would get in trouble, but it's just promoted everybody in the GT3 class, save for Azapamber and Dauber, up a position. So it's a good day. I feel weird to say this, Jesse. It's a good day to be a back marker because you're looking to come home with an absolute haul of points just for finishing the race. This is currently the fight for third place. We've got Emil Platt, who's leading. We're suspecting he took tires. Daniel Hearn in the Porsche behind Matt Townsend in the purple and black Lexus, and then Kevin Boss in the Pfaff Lamborghini, and a little bit of multi-class giving and maybe taking away from Daniel Hearn because through comes Matt Townsend up into fourth. And I think this might be on for one hell of a fight as we get closer to the pit stops. A lot of these drivers actually having already stopped. I think all of them have, save for Kevin Boss. Kevin hasn't stopped, so it's not a net fight for him. I think he's more just watching. But I do think that just means that Kevin has saved a bit more fuel than everybody else. Everybody seems to be going early tonight, Jesse, which is just something that you almost never see in LMU. And this might, I don't know, maybe set a new precedent for the sprint race strategies. But the leaders at the front running on fumes, and we're about to see the pit stops for hypercars.
Well, Fabian Schmedberger joins us from the chat. By the way, if I have ever sounded intelligent about some intricacies of LMU in this championship, it is because of Fabian Schmedberger and Jack Mays and Ted Edwards. I was out of the loop for the past 6 months. So getting back into LMU, I've had a crash course, and huge shout out to my entire team and friends who have helped me get up to speed quite quickly. Fabian Schmedberger actually sent me a crib sheet of some finer points of LMU racing and strategy and why they do things and why they don't do things, and it helped me understand a lot. So cheers to you, Fabs. And Fabs is just saying that, man, I could have had a lot of points today had I been able to race. And right, he is. He's absolutely right. This was a day, if you are needing some points, having just a workman-like attitude and a sort of a boring day out on track would have netted a lot of points for drivers tonight. But Jack, going back to your point, talking about this may open the playbook for some drivers who thought taking tires wasn't a possibility. Joe Dauber has halved the lead to Azim Pamber. It was 10 seconds with 30 minutes to go. It is under 5 seconds now with 23 and a half to go. Those tires are absolutely working as Colombo is coming into the pit lane, the leader in hypercar for their scheduled stop.
And of course, and already Giacomi's already stopped. We anticipate Colombo's going to go in and then out with no troubles, but I'm not terribly surprised by Dauber's pace, honestly, because having run a couple of long races, once in a GT3. Fortunately, I have a little bit of background knowledge in that, which I usually don't. It is possibly one of the biggest tracks in terms of tire degradation. You think night race, cooler temps, it'd be fine, but it's just the way that the car has to move around, the load on specifically the left side of your car in terms of tires can absolutely shred them. Overheating can be an issue. I wouldn't be surprised if the cars running mediums, the hypercars, might be experiencing a bit of overheating on some of their tires, even though it's only 27 degrees on the track. I say only 27. I feel like most people outside of where I live in Florida would say that's pretty hot, right? Barcelona, Spain, not so. That's a pretty cool night for them on this circuit. Colombo, though, has come out in the lead with a bit more of a margin than I was expecting, Jesse, and I'm not 100% sure as to why.
Hey, Jack, do you mind if I do a contractual obligation real quick?
Absolutely. I mean, no, I don't mind. Go ahead.
Ted, can we look at Billy real quick? Billy Octane leading the race here in LMU for SJ&H on merit alone. Back to you, Jack.
Unbelievable work from Billy Octane out here, just really crushing it today. He's coming into pit lane, and we know, though, that he's already won the race in the hearts of the nation. Back to you, Jesse.
Yeah, Billy Octane pitting out of the lead. He'll be one of the last pitters that will complete the cycle. He actually might be the very last to come in the hypercar class to complete the stop. I did see Gagor come in, and indeed that will complete the pit cycle of both classes here. Coming in will be a shorter stop here. We'll need less energy than anyone else. For those of you at home that may be confused about what virtual energy is, you think of recharging a battery and how like an electric car or a hybrid works, and it is kind of like that, except in WEC, it's used as a BOP mechanic. It's less about running the car on electric power. It's more about BOPing each car so that everyone's sort of even on the distance they can go. And that may sound boring to some, Jack, but the reality is it actually opens up the playbook of strategy of when you come in and how you use the stop. It's less about what you do in the stop. It's more about when you do the stop, and if you can do that advantageously, like we saw Joe Dauber do, who continues to gain, though Azenpamber has sort of stopped the bleeding a little bit. They're sort of matching times in that class right now.
Yeah, virtual energy, I feel like it's a more complicated it sounds more complicated than in fact it is. Honestly, it boils down to that is their fuel tank. In essence,
they have a real fuel tank and a virtual one, but only the virtual one really matters.
Yeah, so if you have not driven an LMU, you have not seen what it looks like from the point of view of the driver with all of your different bits of UI in front of you. It does show you, hey, this is how much fuel you have. Directly below, this is how much virtual energy you have. You don't want to run out of either, but if you run out of virtual energy first, you do get a stop and go penalty, which is why that is just the end all. That is your fuel tank.
And correct me if I'm wrong, as we watch DeHort drive off the racetrack and jump back on rallycross in the Aston. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jack. As long as he's not going to make it. DeHort's not going to make it in the 781. And they're going to back up. Oh, they're going to back up the car, I think, is what they inevitably do. Let's look at this again. This will be the second or third car that's missed pit entry here. It is off camber, to be fair. And they're just not going to be able to, and it's downhill more than anything else. And instead of hitting the tire pack, they elected the last second to throw it into the dirt. And they may elect to reverse and try and get back up the lane. They're going to bump into the tire pack and get it back in the lane without further incident. Damage done a little bit to the car maybe, but perhaps more on the timing and scoring. Badowski here also having a moment.
We'll see what it's for him. And ladies and gentlemen, it's the same thing thrice in turn 5.
Yeah.
This time, though, not a BMW, but a Peugeot, all finding themselves late and into the wall. I have to say, because I feel like it's painting a picture of just everybody not being able to drive. Turn 5, I would say, save for maybe also turn 7, which you just saw Callum Kerrigan go round in, they seem like absolutely silly easy corners. It seems like you don't have to think about it. You see TC lights flashing and already the Porsche's beginning to go around for Kerrigan, but they are so difficult, especially for turn 5, where your braking point is pretty hard to spot. This is not the same thing. This is not the same replay. This is the next lap for Callum Kerrigan, and it is pretty much a carbon copy. It's so difficult.
Turn 5 and turn 7, absolutely chaotic here for both classes of cars, but hypercars specifically not playing nice. I'll be curious to hear what the drivers seem to think is going on there. Turn 5 with the lockup, turn 5's like a downhill hairpin, even though it's not a true hairpin, it feels like one. And turn 7 is sort of you bottom out in TV3, which is the name of that turn, and then you head back up the hill for 8. But before they get up the hill, it's like the car destabilizes itself. We call it de-wedging in America. It unsettles itself because it's not loaded. And it all goes wrong. We've seen it happen to several cars tonight. That's it's just unfortunate. Close quarters racing here for 5th place.
Yeah, it seemed like a bit of multi-class maybe rearing its head and giving way to Dion Smits as the lights have gone out, as the stars have come. The Toyota somehow looking better in the darkness than
God,
even
that
it
new
did in the
Toyota looks
light,
good,
but
doesn't it?
It looks unbelievable. Bump drafting in my LMU? Certainly not. It's not something you get to see every day.
Best net code in sim racing, and you're seeing it right there. A lot of these incidents would have been way nastier tonight had they not had industry-leading net code, as they coin it. And you're seeing it right there. In many other sims, that would have been a crash because of the way the cars interact. In LMU, it is a true-to-life bump. And while stewards, of course, no live stewards tonight, but stewards may not appreciate that. It's no harm, no foul. Let the gentleman race. If they want to bump, they want to bump. But don't take it any further. That obviously let him go, as Townsend has found the wall here. And I say a retirement. Indeed it is.
Yeah, I think it's going to be turn 6 or in between turn 5 and turn 6.
It's
Yep,
5.
I think I'm right.
Oh, wait, we're in 5? Oh, I was a little...
no,
5.
we're technically in 5. It's on the apex that the Lexus goes around. I think he was hit. Was he? I didn't see a car behind him. I think it was the transition coming off of the asphalt and onto the grass that it looked like the car was unsettled, that I thought that there was maybe a bit of contact.
It's so tricky. It's down. Turn 5 is a menace. It's downhill. You crest right here, and you go downhill, and you're turning into a blind corner. It looks like a hairpin, even though it isn't. And then, like you said, it bottoms out right there. There's a dip.
Yeah. And the one point I wanted to make earlier that I want to make now, that is to all the drivers, that braking point is incredibly hard to spot. There is a 50-meter board on the right side away from the corner. It's hard to see, and that's pretty much all you're going to get as far as braking points. Here's just a moment ago, Upton Clay and Dion Smits trading places down the straight. This wasn't what we just saw earlier on, even though it feels like a bit of deja vu. Smits says, I'm not going to bump you this time. I'm going to outbrake you this time. It seemed like, though, that Upton Clay gave that one up, maybe a little bit of lifting coast from the BMW, or maybe just giving up the fight just a bit. If I'm remembering correctly, I'm pretty sure that both of these drivers are Flanders Esports drivers. Perhaps, I believe Dion Smits is. I know that Upton Clay is. If that is the case, my apologies if it's not, and I'm just making things up. I'm wondering if it's a, hey, you're quicker, I'm just going to let you go, and maybe chase down Billy Octane, because there he is in the SJ&H Cadillac. So I think they're playing for a little bit of teamwork here, Jesse, and saying, "Hey, Smits, you go overtake the Cadillac, and then wait, slow him down, and then I'll overtake him." Could be something like that, but it would be some impressive work from the two. Dion, though, he hasn't moved through the field quite as quick as Mohamed Colombo, but that was another one I spotted that was super, super quick and really thought he was going to make his way through the field. He's in the top 5 now, Jesse, and I don't think he's going to stop there. I think he's going to at least go for 4th.
No, still a lot to play for with 12 and a half minutes. Just to recap, post pit stop, what's been going on. Colombo leads Jacomi by 9.5 seconds. That pretty much returned to form. Voken in 3rd place, holding that spot right now. It's Octane, Schmitz, and Clay. Those 3 cars might end up all together fighting over 4th place. Badowski, Wilkinson, Dorr, and Kerrigan, the 10 running hypercars, 5 retirements out of that class. Pretty high degradation around Barcelona this evening. Flashy indeed. Asim Pamber leads in LMGT3 over Dauber. Dauber took tires and has cut into that lead considerably. Huge twitch right there in the background to Schmitz. But Dauber continues to try and cut the lead down. Actually had a really good lap that time, several tenths quicker than Asim Pamber that time through. But up until that point, it had stagnated at 5 seconds. Imo Plata holds the final podium position. Hearn, Vaparis, Boss, Yup, and Kersmont, the 8 cars in the LMGT3 field that continue to run. 4 DNFs in the LMGT3 field as well. A lot going on. Not the race I expected, Jack. Quite frankly, I expected sort of a more procession of cars all vying over position into turn 1. I did not expect so many cars going off in any corner, let alone the same corner, turn 5.
Yeah, and it's been definitely, I don't think anybody could have guessed this. And let's see, do they make it through? Yes, they make it through. Just to be clear, the vast majority of these cars, this turn 5 has been dealt with correctly hundreds of times tonight. We're just calling out the few that I've gotten it a bit wrong. I was corrected by the Flanders people themselves that I was half correct, so I don't know, I'll give you some points there. Smits and Clay are not both Flanders drivers, but they are in a Discord call together, so they are communicating. So I think there was a level of communication that was happening. Maybe Smith said, "Hey, please, do you awfully mind? I seem to be a little bit quicker. Can I please go catch me a Cadillac for dinner?" And I think Clay obliged, because all over the back of Octane coming out of turn 14, and the Billy Octane is wide. It actually slowed Smits down a little bit, but out dragging, they're about even, because Smits had to back off just a little bit, and actually down the straight, the Cadillac is pulling away just a bit, but on the brakes, they both turn into each other. Billy turning, maybe not realizing that there was still a Toyota there. A huge crash from the pair, and that seemed almost a little bit clumsy from Billy Octane there as he's getting worse off. Smits is already back moving. We see it again from a different camera, and he looks like Billy actually turns in before the corner. We'll sort of see it from the onboard. I think he was attempting to slam the door, but didn't realize he got out broken. He's turning it. Oh, no, he locked his rears. It looked like he started turning in, but no, the Cadillac this time, the one that has lost its rear. And Jesse, that is, oh.
Yeah,
That's
you're spot
absolutely on
on.
the
Well caught by Ted Edwards on the cameras, well documented by you. That looks like he's turning in, and he is, but he's not doing it on purpose. He's locking the brakes, and it's turning for him. And just unfortunate situation for both of those drivers. The big winner and all that is Clay, of course, who gets a BOGO, buy one, get one free here in turn 1 at Barcelona, gets up into 4th and will likely stay there. And that is not how we expected that to end. Clay up to 4th, Smits in 5th, Octane down to 6th by virtue of a lockup into 1. All of those drivers going for it. Oh my word, it all came to a shambles right there.
it's such a difficult thing. I mean, it's a battle of the brakes, and for it to end that way, it's in one way a bit more climactic than most overtakes we see, but definitely not the way you want it to go. I have to say, whether it was the plan all along, which I can say for certain it wasn't from Upton Clay, but him releasing Dion Smits netted him an extra position as a result of that contact, which the biggest brain play that you've ever seen. Shout out to Emil Plata, who has had a very quiet race and is in a very deep John Dalton zone. Certainly 32 seconds in front, 10 seconds out back. He's on his own. He's having a really relaxed Friday evening drive, but has just been doing superb in their Ferrari 296. I don't know if that's the Evo version, because there was also an Evo version of the 296 GT3. I'm going to guess that it probably is. Maybe it isn't. It's ultimately the same car underneath. It doesn't matter. But Emo doing really well, hanging on to the podium, doesn't show any signs of losing that third place. But very relaxed in the Fezza. Throughout the field, though, it's still Mohamed Colombo who leads overall, and in Hypercar, 10 seconds now has stepped away from Eduardo G. Giacomi, who is in second. Milan van der Vecken in the beautiful V12 powered Aston Martin Valkyrie is in third. Upton Clay, after the incident that just transpired, is up to fourth. Dion Smits is in fifth. That is your top 5 of the 10 remaining hypercars. Of course, we're missing 5 from the start of the race. In LMGT3, Rune Azenpamber has, well, as of pit stop strategy, got the lead from Joe Dauber. Dauber, of course, in second, took tires and thought that maybe he could push back, make something happen. He still has 6 minutes to do so, of course, so not going to call it now, but he is second, 2.5 seconds behind. The bleeding stemmed by Azenpamber. He's been showing a really good pace. Mo Plata, of course, who I just talked about, is running third. Daniel Hearn is in fourth for LMGT3. And Jan van Parijs is in fifth. And I'm doing my best to pronounce their name correctly, as they told me last week. I hope I'm doing a passable job. Sorry, I'm American. But 9 LMGT3s remaining. We lost 4, so not quite as bad. 8 LMGT3s remaining. Excuse me, I'm bad at math, but I still was right when I said 4 cars. I'm bad at reading. I'm also bad at math, but we'll leave that be. There are 4 remaining. There are 4 did not finishers retirements, all in pretty big fashion. Callum Kerrigan has been the latest to have a moment. It's turn 1. Entry into Team 2 for Callum Kerrigan. It's been really, really difficult for the driver of the Vulcan Racing Porsche. He actually lost at that time. It just seems that everybody's rear doesn't seem to be stable all that much. Of course, the Porsche, I don't believe that is the Evo model. Like I said, it's the same car underneath, so it doesn't matter. There hasn't been, if I remember correctly, a big BOP swing on this circuit for the Porsche hypercar, which of course is no longer driving in the WEC, as many of you who know. But it always, we sit, we watch from our ivory tower in the commentary box, and we think to ourselves, those setups don't look like they're well. A lot of loose rears tonight, and that, of course, brings me to talk about our wonderful partners, and a specifically wonderful partner, Coach Dave Delta, who, if you want to set up an LMU, they're the place to go. A great setup shop who not only gives you how to run your car or what to run your car under, they can help you get quicker with coaching. They can help you get quicker with their use of apps and data logging software. and they are wonderful, along with all of our other grand old partners, including Ready Set Sim, because if you're in the market for building a new sim rig, whether you can afford it, whether you can't, it doesn't matter to them. Well, it kind of does. It doesn't matter to us. But you can go to the RSS Rig Builder over on their site. They will have you covered. When it comes to direct drive hardware, though, talking wheels and pedals, talking the heart of your machine, might I recommend Moser Racing. Their pricing is incredible, so well balanced in terms of price to performance, and everything that they make is just fantastic. I use Moser products on my own. They're wonderful. And, you know, saving a few bucks on it is never a bad thing, too. Saving a few bucks on PC titles, never a bad thing either. Head over to Green Man Gaming. They have you covered if you're looking for deals on new PC game titles, including hot new releases. And more news in the sense of discounts. Pimax, who is possibly the best in terms of resolution and quality in VR headsets. They're pretty much the top name. We have an exclusive discount code with them. Save a few bucks on anything that you may want to order. So that's always good news. And a final special thank you to Motorsport UK, of course, for having us as a recommended esports community. And it seems that with the final lap just getting ready to go underway, Mohamed Colombo has 14 more corners to do, standing between himself and a back-to-back victory in the Ferrari 499P, my least favorite car to go on board with, because you can't see anything. I promise the visibility from the driver's seat is a heck of a lot better, but that camera, which is a camera I quite like, isn't as great. Callum Kerrigan, unfortunately, thought we were done talking about him for tonight in terms of spinning, has just lost it in front of Colombo. He's going to get going again, and fortunately for him, he's been lapped by the leader on the last lap, which means this is his final. And for insult to injury, as Callum is a dear friend, we'll show it off. The rear of that car just not being planted at all. I think either a question of not running enough wing or the rear tires just being entirely lost. Those tires are completely overheated. It's going to be difficult for him to get back, but he will finish this race. Be in no doubt. Callum doesn't give up, I hope. I was going to say, he's just letting everybody through. He's saying, let's go. I'm in last. I'm going to keep it. But he's going to get a haul of points for his efforts, of course. But it was an incredibly well-driven comeback from Mohamed Colombo from basically last on lap 1 to now first by 10 seconds here in Barcelona. Crosses the line. It's 2 in a row for Mohamed Colombo. Ladies and gentlemen, watch out. There is a new fast-as-hell driver on the block. Eduardo Di Giacomi coming across the line with Milan van der Vecken very close behind. A late surge from the Valkyrie as Reese Wilkinson has finished, as well as Kevin Boss. Next across the line, Yupton Clay, the big winner of the crash of the Titans between Dion Smits and Billy Octane, crosses the line 4th, Smits 5th, and Billy Octane will come around in 6th in the Cadillac. A haul of points for everybody. Emil Plata has come across the line as Hearn, as Van Pries, as Jupp. We now wait for Rune Azenpamber, who was able to fend off the alternate strap calling Joe Dauber. He had the popo on his heels all through the second stint and drove it excellently. Callum Kerrigan, of course, has crossed the line and immediately going to pit lane. He says, I'm good. That's enough for me. I am having not my best day, but at least I got some points for the night. Azenpamber, though, is going to come across the line. I don't know how many that is in a row. It's at least 2. And the championship leader continues to championship lead in LMU. GT3. Rudaz and Pamber for Flanders comes across the line. Joe Dauber is going to come just behind. And we waited for just a few more moments for Lars Kestemont, who's going to complete their race. And, well, it looks like the race is still going, but everybody deciding, what if we had a nice little in-lap? Everybody had a party at turn 5, maybe? That ever dreaded corner as now our results for our race this evening. Not one that anybody expected in terms of how it happened. Maybe the results at the top of Hypercar, bit predictable, but is certainly an interesting race. Mohamed Colombo took P1 in Hypercar. Eduardo Di Giacomi in second. Milan van der Vecken in third. Yupton Clay in fourth. Dion Smits is in fifth. Octane, sixth position. Marco Badowski, seventh. Reese Wilkinson, eighth. Michael DeGore in ninth. And Callum Kerrigan doesn't just round out the top 10, but rounds out all of the finishers in Hypercar as we lost 5 amongst tonight's proceedings. Triciani, Viselli, Malcolm, Vendrisha, and Barr all in the Hypercar, not quite making it to the end of their race. Moving on to the LMGT3 finishers, Ruden Azenpamber finishes in first position. Joe Dauber second. Emil Plata in third. Daniel Hearn fourth. Jens Van Parijs in fifth. Kevin Boss, another tidy drive in the Lamborghini, finishes sixth. Tony Jupp in seventh. Lars Kestemont eighth. Matt Townsend ninth. And Martin Lorink in 10th. Of course, those two retiring from the race, along with a pair of drivers who did not make it to the end of Finn Fearts and Gabrielle Ruel. Jacob Tuckey, of course, not taking part, but also not signing out of the championship. Sign out of the championship, everybody. That's what you're supposed to do. It's been an interesting evening. It's been a heck of a race, be in no doubt. It wasn't boring at all. It just was almost unbelievable in how it ended up happening. And to speak to somebody who had one of the best views of the night, we have none other than Mr. Kevin Boss, a man after my own heart. He submitted for approval, whether he knew or not, on the car he was driving, the FAF Lamborghini. I, of course, with all the thumbs I have, put him up and appreciate its appearance in multi-sprint. But a little bit, it seemed like, compared to others, Kevin, little bit of a quieter race from your side. But, I mean, how did Barcelona treat you tonight?
Yeah, it was actually not too bad. Like the car feels fine. It's just compared to previous rounds, the speed is just not there. We know from through Le Mans Ultimate itself, they actually bobbed the Lamborghini quite a bit at all tracks, so it's got the big ball and chain on it for some reason, which for me was obvious today, especially if I see the gap I had to the likes of Townsend and Hearn, who I at first was battling with. So yeah, for me it's it's a bit too much, but yeah. I actually had to drive a little bit slower than I wanted to because early on I got a bit of front damage because I bumped into the rear of Finn, who I thought was going to go a bit faster through the corner, and then my water and oil temperature started rising quite a bit. So lots of lifting and coasting from me.
That's not actually something that we hear about or really talk about at all, is the fact of that everything's very well simulated in Le Mans Ultimate, especially concerning engine health, including everything from to you can knock your tire around and break the tire pressure sensor and it won't tell you how much wear is left on your tire, which I think is just incredible. But yeah, having actual radiator damage enough to start to worry you in the car, that's a whole new level of management. And well done for bringing it home, since you were driving a ticking time bomb ultimately. But I will ask, since we are coming to the final 2 rounds of the season, 2-part question: do you feel good about your performance so far this season? And of the 2 rounds, Portimao and Silverstone, which are you looking forward to the most?
Well, in a way, but the season started bad, and then Result-wise, the last 2 rounds were pretty good, but I think if more of the normal amount of drivers show up, I'm going to be just outside the top 10, I think. So to get any more decent results, I think is going to be difficult. And yeah, I actually think Silverstone might be the better one for me because I know at Portimao the Lamborghini used to be decent, but any little bit of rear damage and you'd be sliding everywhere. So, uh, yeah, I'd be looking forward to Silverstone most, but I'd also have to check with work which ones I can actually do.
Well, hopefully you can make it to Silverstone. You were great in the wet at Imola. Big news. It's wet at Silverstone as well. So might be a good result coming for you. And it's been great to have you in the champ as always. Or a staple of us here at RCI. But before you go, anybody you'd like to shout out?
As always, the guys in the Vulcan voice call because it's always a bit more fun. I think you guys might have been seeing some of the shenanigans we got up to at the end. But yeah, we still made sure we stayed out of everyone's way. And yeah, it's always more fun when you're racing with friends.
No truer statement has ever been said. Ladies and gentlemen, your 6th place finisher in LMGT3, Kevin Boss. Moving on to our next human being that we're going to speak to tonight, someone who finished slightly higher than 6th. It's our winner overall and in hypercar for the 2nd time in a row. How are you feeling after that race? From ultimately the back of the field at the start to leading the race by 10 seconds, Mohamed Colombo. That was one heck of a drive.
Yeah, it started off not that great after turn 1, but I just knew if I just took it easy, kept my nose clean for most of the race, I would have moved forward eventually. The racing was really fun. I had to clear some traffic the first lap or so. It wasn't ideal, but it was pretty fun.
At the end of the day, that's why we do what we do. We do it for a bit of fun, but we were remarking in the booth just how quickly you went from. I think you were at maybe 5th or 6th when we called it, and Jesse was like, "Oh, mark your stopwatches, folks, because Colombo's going to be in the lead at some point." You did it in about 30 minutes. You left us with another 30 minutes left, and you were already in the lead. That was just incredible. Has the Ferrari for you? Because I feel like it's kind of a love or hate hypercar for those who do or don't drive it. Has that been your car of choice for a while, or is this a newfound love?
Yeah, I've always been a Ferrari fan ever since I got into endurance racing, and I know this car the most since I've got 5,000 hours on this game. Yeah, I know. It is a love-hate car because it does want to kill you most of the time, but if you know how to tame it, it's a pretty fast beast.
I mean, that the results speak for themselves. Ultimately, I think the BOP towards the Genesis is also just working more and more in your favor. But congratulations on the victory here tonight from the jaws of defeat in turn 1. And before you go, anyone you want to shout out?
Jupiter Clay again, my teammate. He been there in turn 5, but somehow made his way up to P4, even with like that damage repair and so on. And also Milan van der Vecken in the Aston Martin, gone to P3 somehow in that car. Amazing.
Well, it was a stunning drive from you. Hopefully something you will continue to give us for the remaining 2 rounds of the season. Ladies and gentlemen, your winner overall at Barcelona, Mohamed Colombo.
Thank you.
It seems that we are getting to those final moments of our broadcast here tonight. And Jesse Lee, I don't know how to describe this race in a few words other than unexpected, but ultimately, actually, hold on one moment. I said we were in the dying moments, but there is a Mr. Dauber waiting in the wings, Jesse, who I believe you have found. So we'll go down to you to speak with Joe.
Yeah, of course, down here with Joe Dauber, and just a spirited race, Joe, today. I'd have to say you swapped the lead back and forth. You watched everybody else have their own incidents. You had a pretty calm race, all things considered, but talk to us about your race and your strategy call that seemed brilliant there early on. Looked like it was going to work.
Yeah, was a fun race. I don't know if I got lucky with the bot lottery with the new release, but I did expect to be so close up near the front, to be honest with you. But yeah, was the Corvette is a challenge for me. I'm fairly new to it, and basically I had to do something with the tires. Otherwise, I was going to have a Corvette moment at some point. So I planned just to change the left. But you know, I'm an old guy. I make errors, and somehow managed to select all 4 tires to change. And I guess the P1 probably just changed the lefts. I think.
Well, you kept us on the edge trying to figure out what the strategy was, and if it was indeed going to work. What was so tricky out there tonight? We had hypercars and LMGT3s going off left, right, and center. What was so tricky, considering you were in the thick of it for 80 minutes?
Genuinely have no idea. You know, it's very high tire wear on this track. It always was in ACC, and it seems like it's the same in this game. I would say that the hypercars were a lot better behaved this week, which was nice. But yeah, I did see quite a few yellow flags coming out and a few spins from different people. But yeah, it's you destroy the front left, so you're very likely to understeer off at some point, I think.
Well, as always, Joe, who do you want to shout out?
Yeah, I'm going to be boring and copy Kevin. Vulcan Racing guys in the Discord was always fun during the race to have someone to complain to.
There you have it, folks. Joe Dauber gave him a chase tonight. One of the mainstays of RCI. Love to see him in all the different sims. And man, we look forward for round 5. Jack, I think my final thoughts today are simple. Barcelona, chaos. The new update, chaos. The Evo cars, chaos. That is the hashtag of the day. We expected a more procession-like race. What we got was absolute mayhem. A couple of corners being the biggest troublemakers, but all over the place. Pit entry was a problem. Turn 5 was a problem. 6 was a problem. Turn 1 ended up being a problem. Using brakes ended up being a problem. Tire wear was a problem. Man, was it a chaotic but an interesting race. And I think I speak for everyone when I say I hope next round next week is a little bit more calm. But man, was it fun to keep us guessing?
Oh, absolutely. It was certainly an interesting one for the books for sure. I would anticipate the same, that maybe we're off to a bit of a calmer race. Of course, next round is Portimao, and the season finale following that is going to be a wet Silverstone, as often the UK is at all points in all times. But I feel like Portimao might be a little bit more of a procession like race, though it is a super difficult circuit, super technical like Barcelona, but different in a lot of ways. There's a lot more elevation that you have to deal with, even more that than the circuit here. That, of course, is to look forward to from us from a broadcast standpoint. I know the drivers are going to be looking forward to it as well. And speaking from us in the broadcast booth, we'll be back on Monday for yet another round of the Mini British GT, our Monday championship send off for a set of Corsa Competizione. It has been so much fun over there. And if you haven't caught a broadcast, I encourage you to do so. And if you still feel like dusting off ACC for one final time for a championship, even if you're only doing the last couple of rounds, I implore you to do so. GT3s, GT4s, it's been fantastic. Of course, at RCI, we also have the prototype series on Thursdays coming up in a couple of weeks, and plenty more things in the works besides. All good news to come soon, and join us in the Discord at the very least if you just want to hang out. It's been absolutely it's an absolutely stellar group of people. But thank you all so much for joining us. Thank you. One final thank you to all of our partners: Ready Set Sim, Coach Dave Delta, Greenman Gaming, Moser Racing, and Pimax. And they are all wonderful people that do wonderful things for us. Have a wonderful, wonderful night, ladies and gentlemen. Have a safe and good weekend. And we look forward to hearing from you soon.
You ready? 3. road, feel the flow. Thunder roaring, steel alive. Live this dream and drive. Tires burning with gasoline. Push the limits, chasing green. One shot, don't slow. Go on, we'll take control. Engines scream alive tonight. Blazing past the red line. Outrun the night, won't lose this fight. Follow the road, red line for show. We're chasing taillights, don't let go. Under the stars, we'll go so far. This is who we are. Chasing taillights. Chasing taillights. Chasing taillights. We're chasing taillights. The miles they fade, but they don't die. Faster now, the hours fly by. Sweat and gears, hearts in sync. On the edge, on the brink. Clock ticks down, stakes are high. One mistake, we kiss us goodbye. Don't slow down, we're not done. Finish line for the strong ones. Engines scream alive tonight. Blazing past the red line. Outrun the night, won't lose this fight. Follow the road, red line for show. We're chasing taillights, don't let go. Under the stars, we'll go so far. This is who we are. Chasing taillights.